One of my favorite stops along the Mother Road was the Cozy Dog Drive-In in Springfield, Illinois. Now, the Cozy Dog doesn't claim to have invented the corn dog, but what they do claim is to have invented putting a stick in the corn dog. Now, I don't know if that's true, but what I do know is that they had a pretty good deal there. When we stopped, we got a family basket of corn dogs, which included 4 corn dogs and 1 large fry. And let me tell you, 1 large fry was definitely a large fry. In fact, it was more than enough for the 3 of us. So when we decided to make the corn dogs for the party, this was kind of a no-brainer, but we thought, well, we're not going to make full-size corn dogs for everybody. We just want to make snack-size mini corn dogs. And so that started us down an adventure. I honestly did not realize how simple corn dogs were to make. Essentially, you're just making cornbread batter and dipping hot dogs into it. So right now what you're looking at, this is actually a setup to make 3 packs of corn dogs, so of these mini corn dogs. So I purchased 3 packs of Nathan's bun length corn dogs. So these are hot dogs. These are a little extra long, and that meant I could cut them into thirds, as opposed to the recipe that I had seen actually had suggested just taking regular sized hot dogs and cutting them in half. I felt that being able to get more corn dogs, even though they'd be smaller, would be better overall for the party. So the ingredients that we have, these are scaled up. So if you go back and you're going to make a single pack of corn dogs, it's going to be a much smaller amount. In fact, I'll list the recipe for you, but in that case, if you were just to use a single pack of hot dogs, then you'd be using, it'd be a half a cup of flour, a half a cup of cornmeal, a half a cup of flour, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, a quarter of a teaspoon of salt, a half a cup of milk, and 1 egg. And that would be your recipe. But for this, we've got a whole lot more because we're making a whole lot more hot dogs, they're rather corn dogs, than anybody in their right mind is going to want to make. I mean, I guess unless you're having a party. I beat these eggs earlier, but it's been a minute, so let's go ahead and get them again. While I'm doing this, I've actually got a cast iron skillet going over there with a bunch of oil because we're just going to fry the heck out of these things. All right, well, now that we've got everything assembled over here and we're ready to go, let's walk through the process real quick. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to dip the hot dog into the batter, and then we're going to transfer it over to the cast iron skillet, which is full of hot oil. Now, in this case, I've got the oil right at about 350 degrees, which is right where we want to try and keep it. So as we're cooking, we're going to be adjusting the heat so that we keep that temperature, try and keep it as constant as we can. Once they've cooked for a few minutes, I'm going to make sure I roll them over so that we get a full, even cooking across the entire surface. And once they look nice and golden brown, I'm going to go ahead and pull them out with some tongs or my bare hand and put them down on this paper towel over here, let a little bit of that grease drain off. One thing that I found very beneficial was to actually transfer part of the batter into a coffee cup. And this seems like kind of an extra wasted step, but it's actually quite helpful when you're dipping the hot dogs. So from the coffee cup, I'm going to go ahead and dip my hot dog. Make sure I have it fully coated, and then into the hot oil. And I can repeat this. For this video, we're just going to probably throw in about 4 of them, but I will keep going until I have this entire skillet hopping with hot dogs. All right, and now we're gonna see you in a minute once these have cooked. All right, so the challenge of the frying part here is to keep the hot dogs rolling over. They have a tendency to like to find one way to sit and then stay there, and that way you would end up cooking one half of it while the other half never quite gets cooked all the way through. Now, you don't need to have perfectly even coloration, but you want to get as close as you can. That way you make sure that it's cooking fairly evenly. Doesn't take but about 3 minutes, 4 minutes. And keeping in mind that your hot dog's already cooked, all you're really doing right here is cooking your cornbread and heating up that hot dog. You'll notice, I still got my heat at around 350. I had to turn up the heat over here on my burner because as soon as I put the cold hot dogs in, it lowers that temperature. So be sure to keep an eye on that. I'm sure if you have an electric skillet, it's probably a little easier. I don't know. I don't tolerate that fancy business up in this kitchen. All right, now you can see that they're starting to get golden brown. And so now I can go ahead and transfer these out of the oil, and I just move them over to the paper towel. And then I'll start on my next batch. It's honestly that simple. Now all you need is a little bit of mustard, ketchup if you're into that, and you've got yourself a really good corn dog that wasn't that hard to make.